David was a shepherd boy. He helped his father by taking care of his sheep. He was a good shepherd, but as David was watching the sheep, he also learned to play the harp very well. David played the harp so well that even the king of Israel, King Saul, heard of him. So every time Saul was troubled, he called David to come and play music for him. When David started to play music, the king always calmed down. Since David watched the sheep, he also became very skilled in using his sling. He learned how to throw stones at lions and bears to protect the sheep from these wild animals. David was a very brave boy. King Saul was often at war with the Philistines. So Saul had taken his army to meet the Philistines in a valley where the two armies were on opposite hills. David had 7 older brothers, and they were in Saul's army. One day David's father said, "David, please go and see if your brothers are well, and take some good food to them." David then went to visit his brothers. When David arrived in the camp, he saw that all the soldiers stood in silence and looked in the same direction across the valley. The soldiers looked very afraid. The soldiers looked at one of the Philistines. He was a giant named Goliath. He was over 9 feet tall and carried huge weapons. Goliath shouted, "You weak cowards, come and fight me if you dare." And then he made fun of the Israelites. But no one in Saul's army was willing to fight the giant. But David was not afraid. He went up to King Saul and said, "I am not afraid. With God's help I have killed lions and bears. I know that God will also help me fight Goliath." Saul could see that David was brave, so he agreed to let David fight Goliath. Saul also gave his own sword, helmet, and armor to him. But they were too heavy for David, and he took them off again. The only thing David took with him was his sling. As he walked toward Goliath, David crossed a small stream. He picked up 5 smooth stones from the stream and put 1 stone in his sling. When Goliath saw that David was just a boy, he made fun of him. He said, "Do you think I'm a dog? Is that why you've come after me with a sling?" But David answered, "You depend on your own strength and weapons, but I trust in God. I know that God will give me the victory." David put 1 stone in his sling and ran toward Goliath. He was swinging the sling around and around, and then he let the stone fly. It hit Goliath right between his eyes, and Goliath went down with a crash. David grabbed Goliath's sword and used it to cut off the giant's head. When the Philistines saw what had happened to their hero, they started running away. They never believed that anyone could beat Goliath. But the Israelites sang and danced with joy. They had won, and David was now a great hero in Israel's army. Later, David, the shepherd boy, even became king in Israel after Saul had died.